We got the Arizona Cardinals versus the New England Patriots. Arizona, lost to Seattle. We kind of saw that coming, David. We did pick against the Arizona Cardinals. New England, I lost track of that game. They ended up losing, didn't they, to Houston yesterday? Or did they end up winning? It was a touchdown game.
They lost 27-20.
Ah, man, that's weird. I really thought New England would take care of business in that game. Just odd to me.
I forget who I picked last week.
I could go back and look.
I think I picked Houston, and you mocked me, and you said, it's the pick of the week. The Patriots are the pick of the week. And I said, I don't know.
You actually did take New England. Maybe I convinced you.
Oh,
I did say pick of the week, though. But, look, man, New England...
No, I think you wrote that one down wrong. You were too high.
Maybe.
We were both on New England.
Maybe. Look, Arizona... Seattle played their best defensive game of the year, and Kyler Murray was relatively held in check. Still had a nice game, but for 2020 Kyler Murray standards, it was one of his down games. Which again, it wasn't a bad game. It's just I think he gave you like 15 yards on the ground or something like that, and that's been the big difference maker. Now, New England has been struggling in the last couple of years with mobile quarterbacks, but they did a nice job. Now, they were playing in a tropical storm or a hurricane against Baltimore, but they did a reasonable job on Lamar Jackson. However, Kyler Murray can also throw the ball better than Lamar Jackson. I know as a Ravens fan that hurts you to hear, David, but, I mean...
No, nobody ever questioned that.
Yeah.
That was always apparent all along.
Yeah, so, I find this confusing. It's weird because, Burkhead was carted off the field, and I actually think that makes the Patriots better, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Arizona, their defense, I like the way they're playing. They're super aggressive, though. Look, if this was the Tom Brady Patriots, I'd say, Brady will get rid of the ball quick and they'll use the blitz against them. Cam Newton, I'm not so sure. So I really do find this to be an intriguing matchup. Let me just get to fantasy football stuff here. Kyler Murray's a definite start. I like Drake more than Edmonds this week. That's not always the case. I do this week. Receiving, I actually like Christian Kirk. This is going to sound sacrilege. Analytically, I like Christian Kirk more than I like DeAndre Hopkins this week. Now, if I had the choice, if I had both on my roster, come on, guys, I'm playing DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just letting you know what the computers are telling me. But I do like Christian Kirk as maybe a daily fantasy guy this week. He's a nice start for me. Nobody else really from the Cardinals. The Patriots, meanwhile, Cam Newton, it's really dependent on his rushing yards. I don't know how that's going to go. I mean, Arizona likes to play guys in the box. Cam Newton's going to need to make them pay downfield, so maybe that's more of a Jacoby Myers type game for them. Now, what I was mentioning before, with Burkhead out, James White suddenly becomes a lot more interesting again. We're going to see him basically carted out. It's like the old Hannibal Lecter thing. They're going to wheel him out in a dolly. They're going to take his mask off. Well, I guess not because we're dealing with COVID. They're going to keep his mask on. And then, and the helmet down. But seriously, I think the consolidation of shares between Damian Harris and James White is good for the Patriots. I really do. And I think we might even see Damian Harris involved, dare I say, in the passing game. Might he catch a pass? He might this week.
He caught one this past week. He caught one.
I mean, come on. I've said this. Damian Harris, to me, was the better prospect coming out of the NFL draft for the NFL than Josh Jacobs. He can catch, and that's the reason why I liked him as a 3-down back. The Patriots, come on, use him. Jacoby Myers, to me, is the guy there in the receiving game. I think it's an intriguing matchup. Anyway, take it away, David.
I don't like talking about New England just because it's like talking about Baltimore after a loss. I don't like New England in general. I don't like saying anything nice about them. But they did play well offensively this past week, and the most important takeaway is that Cam Newton bounced back. Yep. 365 passing yards for Cam Newton, and that is huge because other than that one game against Seattle early in the season, he has been consistently below 200 passing yards. Against Baltimore, he only threw for 118. So he more than tripled his passing yardage from week 10 to week 11. Another passing touchdown, which he's been struggling to do, only had 3 on the season. So that's good to see that there's a little bit of life. It makes it more comfortable with Jacoby Myers going forward, even though he only had 3 for 38. Makes you more comfortable with James White, who you talked about, Rex Burkhead. He tore his ACL, so he's done. The cart came out for a reason. It's going to be James White now. And he had 6 for 64. He was tied for the most receptions on the team. Again, this is a weak Houston defense, but James White got dropped in a ton of leagues, justifiably so.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him in waivers, I promise you.
Exactly. He's one of the few waiver wire options this week who just aren't complete garbage. Just a little preview for that. The waiver wire segment, it ain't going to be too hot this week, guys. I hope you made all your moves and filled all your team's holes
We had
before your trade deadline.
2 or 3 weeks of gold on waiver wire, and finally, I think people saw the segment and finally picked people up because I built my team, my current team, because of everybody on IR. I have like 7 people on IR. I built my team on the waiver wire in the last 2 weeks, and I'm shredding people. So, but a lot of that's gone now. James White though is going to be fantastic.
But I like James White and I like Myers again because, again, we're talking about the Cardinals game script factor. Who's going to be winning this game? And is anybody outside of New England projecting New England to win this game? No, I don't think so. So that's good for the pass catchers. That's good for James White. That's good for Jacoby Myers. I'm not sure if it's good for Cam Newton. I think he's probably a better fantasy asset in games where they're playing from ahead. But it's good for the pass catchers. The Cardinals have allowed more fantasy points than the Texans this season, who they just played this past week.
Right.
Cam Newton 365 yards against. So it's a better matchup. So I do think there will be life in the New England Patriots passing game for another week. For the Cardinals, you pretty much know what to do, like you said. Kirk, if you have better options, you consider it. If not, you're rolling the dice on these guys every week for the most part. Whether he has a great game, good game, somewhere in between, not a good game, who knows? Chase Edmonds has been consistent. You continue to start him. Again, I think you're right. It's probably more of a Drake game where they play from ahead, but Edmonds has been involved. I wouldn't just use this as justification to sit him just because they're projected to play from ahead.
All right, let me hit you with the line here. Bovada has Arizona -2.5 versus New England. Who would you take there?
-2.5, that's it?
-2.5.
Give me the Cardinals.
I think this is going to be a closer game. I think the Cardinals win. I wrote down New England, but I think you're swaying me towards Arizona. So maybe I'll do a segment later in the week. I'm going to...
2.5, that's not much.
2.5 isn't much, but the way... You're right. Kyler Murray will bounce back.
Long week. They played on Thursday. They get 10 days to prepare for this game.
It's just one of these New England things. Like, I think that the Cardinals blitz could be neutralized offensively. I really am just more interested in it. And anyway, I'm going to stay the heck away from this and picking a game. Just for ratings' sake, I'll take New England because I did write down. I wrote down 26-24. Arizona has to bounce back, but I think it might be one of these things where everybody expects Arizona to bounce back and win by like 15, and then they eke out a win on the road in Foxborough.
Has been playing better football. They're still alive. They're still desperate.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We got